Alright, so Alyssa was not there the day we filmed this, but fortunately Steve was nice enough to help me. So what we're going for here is, you can see, I'm like, whoa, what's going on? I'm pouring in water. That water I microwaved. I do about a minute per cup, and it's not measured precisely. That's just, that looked about right. And so I'm taking the tan and I'm going to put a little bit in there. What I'm trying to do is, over on the right, you see that bag full of goodness. The fabric, that's kind of a cream ivory color, I'm trying to match that, which I know is pretty much impossible because I have essentially zero experience. But I want to get the right tone. I'm not worried if it's darker or lighter, I just want the tone to be right. So just taking a stab at it. Don't know if it's gonna work or not, but it doesn't hurt to try because I've bought, what, 5,000 different fabrics that don't work. So I know it seems counterproductive to put the lid on every single time, but I don't want a kitchen full of dye. I believe that's lemon yellow. You could probably read it. I don't remember.
And you're just guesstimating with your
I'm
drops?
just guesstimating. I bought those little pipettes on... Pipettes? Is that what they're called?
I think
so. Pipettes? I bought them on Amazon. And you can see that I set them down in relation to where I put the dye down, because, you know, tan doesn't look like it should be blue.
No, it's very odd.
It is. And when you have, like the last time I dyed something, I had a bunch of those, and I couldn't tell what was what. So now I'm taking a little sample and putting it in the bowl, because that white styrofoam doesn't absorb the color, and so I can look at it and see kind of what color I'm going for. And that was clearly not the right color because I dumped it back in.
It looks like I could invest in some nice gloves for you that fit, and that might be helpful.
Yes, that would be super helpful.
A good Christmas present.
So I'm trying to kind of get it close, and the material, and say, so does it look the same? Doesn't it? What do I need to do? Do I need to go darker? Do I need to go lighter, more yellow, less yellow? What do I need to do?
It's nice that it doesn't stick to the styrofoam.
Yeah, because I know some people use paper plates, like what I have the spoon on, and I don't know how much it would absorb into that because I've never tried it, but that styrofoam is amazing, and you can just rinse it and then do your next project in it, so you don't need a second one. Because the second thing we're going to do is we're going to model dye something. Mottle, not model. I'm not a supermodel.
I didn't realize that you just mix the dye in with water.
Well, a lot of people use salt, and I believe the instructions tell you to use salt, but the first time I did it, I didn't read the instructions.
Like salt water?
Yeah, you put salt in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do that before, and mine came out exactly how I wanted it, so I thought,
you're scared to do it.
I'm not doing it again. That's good enough. Yeah, I decided I should probably move those fabrics so I don't spill anything on them.
Getting a tone of clumsy here.
Yeah, and the paper I have on the counter, that's craft paper that you can get from like Uline in bulk. We use it in the bird cages, so I have
plenty.
A butt ton of it. So I realize that this isn't super exciting watching me do this, but a lot of people that dye, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with this, but a lot of people that do dyeing stuff, they just kind of throw colors together and they're like, whoa, look how that came out. And I think that that would be a lot of fun, but since I'm trying to match something, that's not what I'm trying to do. So this is a lot less exciting than what you would normally be doing.
But pretty practical and useful if you're trying to match colors or get a specific color for your projects.
Yeah. So I had put in quite a bit of yellow, and it was looking very, very yellow. So I keep adding tan to try to get a slightly less yellow appearance. But I know too much tan, it's going to go brown. So it's a lot of back and forth. And I put it in a Ziploc bag, in a big like gallon size one. That way I can get it real close and look. And you can't see from here, but there is liquid on it because my gloves don't stay dry during the process. And you'll see later on, I'm going to end up with a towel on the counter because I did something really stupid. But yeah, that's later.
Not gonna lie, it looks pretty good. I kind of want to drink it.
Yeah, don't drink it. Disclaimer. Note to self. I don't know. I don't know what we're doing here, but yeah, don't be drinking that. Now I just added water, and that's because when you get to a point where it's a certain color, it might just be too intense. So you have sort of the right shade, but you need to back it off so it's less, because if you just stuck the fabric in, the fabric would absorb it and it would be dark. So I'm trying to lighten it. Like, I need to get the right tone, but I need to lighten it because this is such a light color I'm going for. So I added the water to try to make it less concentrated so that it would be more like what I'm looking for.
I assume you were just trying to look at it in the sunlight.
Yes, yeah, because behind me is the sink, and then there's windows with daylight, and we had been busy all day, and so it was getting late. It was probably 3:30. We hadn't eaten all day either. I was hangry at this point. But I did have a friend come over, and I was helping her figure out the sewing kit she had just bought. So that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that. So now apparently I've decided that I think this is going to work. And so we're going to dunk it in. This is where you stick it in and it's too late. You can make minor adjustments. Yeah, oh yeah, I was like, I'm just going to stick the little tip in and just see if it looks like it's going to be crazy. And I was like, oh okay, that's not crazy. I can probably work with that. So compare. I can't emphasize how important it is to compare. You need the baggie.
Now, how does it differ, the wet dye, to what it actually ends up being? I mean, is it typically lighter, darker, a different tone? I mean,
it's darker when it's wet. Once it dries, it does lighten up some, which also makes it incredibly difficult to match a color. Because when I did the needle paints, the very first one was the right one, because when I put it in the little styrofoam bowl, I was like, this is it, I did it. And then I tossed that ecru floss in there and went, oh my gosh, I totally destroyed it. And I mean, I set it off to the side like that's never gonna be it. And when I went back the next day and it was all dry, that first one was the right one. But it was so dark in the beginning, I thought, well, I ruined that. So now I'm rinsing out the fabric. So if you wanted the color to be intense, you would leave it in much longer than that. But since I'm going for light, I took it over, rinsed it out, because I didn't want it to be super dark. Comparing. Apparently not. Not yet. And at this point, I'm not even using the pipette because I think it needs to be considerably more tan.
wow.
Yeah. I think this is when I did the stupid. Maybe not. Maybe. Yep, that's when I did the stupid. Don't put it down on the counter because it's gonna get all wet and stuff. The counter, not the fabric. The fabric is wet. Again, I don't know what I was thinking, but stuff it back in. Yeah, I was hungry. I was definitely hungry. But I also didn't want it to be too yellow because I don't know if you can tell, but in that bag I also, well, obviously you can see floss, but some of that floss is for later. But I'm looking at the light color cream-ish floss because that's the one that's most important to make sure it's gonna go with that. And I do know it's going to be lighter when it dries, so you need to go a little bit darker. Okay, other super important thing. I'm rinsing out that bowl, and that's fine. Do not use the same gloves. That's how my pink got the teal on it.
From another batch.
From another batch that I never videoed, so you didn't see it, but you saw it when I did the chatelaine stash. Now I got out, oh, I didn't do it yet. I'm going to get out another bowl because when you do the modeling, you sort of need more stuff. Now I'm going to heat it. I filled it up with water. I'm going to go heat it up again in the microwave. You don't make it like boiling hot. You just make it hot. So this one I want a super light gray, but slightly mottled. And it's for the peacock floss that you'll see when I bring the floss thing back. So this is charcoal lit dye. I've never used the powdered, I only use the liquid. So now here's the secret to model dyeing if you don't want it to look tie-dyed. You take a little bit of your base color, so the lightest color that you want it to be, you just put a little bit of that color in there. And if you want it to be a color that it doesn't automatically come out as, then you mix colors until you get the base color that you want. But it's a very light version of it. So if you need to add more water, add more water. It needs to be light. This is the lightest portion of the fabric that you're going to see. And again, I'm going to be pulling out that bag that has the floss and the fabric in it, and it's the floss we're looking at, the one that looks like peacock floss. That's what this fabric is for, so I want to make sure it works. Now I'm going to stick the entire thing in again because I don't want white. If you want white, then don't stick the entire thing in, but I did want white, and this is when I realized I need another bowl, because for modeling you really need a different bowl. And you'll see why shortly. And you also need a spoon. Again, you'll see why. But it's okay. If you don't want white, it's okay to shove that in the water. If you do want white, then what you're going to need to do is what I do in the next step. In the next step, when I put it in that other bowl, you would start with that. Don't dunk it in the light one. Just start with the light color and do what I do. But if you don't want white at all on the fabric, then do what I'm doing and just shove it all in there, get the whole thing covered. And yes, it's gonna get wrinkled. So now you're gonna go. And yeah, well, okay, first I wanted to test and make sure that this was the right tone, because if this is not the right tone, then we need to adjust it and put in some other color to make it a blue, a purple, a pink, green, whatever you're aiming for. But it was good. So now you add more of that color and you make it a little bit darker. And this is going to be more of your medium tone. So it's going to start to have the modeling, but it's not going to be crazy modeling at this point. So you want to kind of get it in there so it's a lot of edges are sticking up. You don't want it to be flat, you don't want it to be totally round, and then you're just going to randomly pour on it. Because this color is a little bit darker, so it's going to model it slightly.
I'd like to call this basting. You need to baste your fabric.
But make sure you don't get too much on the bottom, because otherwise, if you added too much, it'll start to go down into the bottom of the bowl, and then it'll start soaking in that, and your entire bottom will be
darker colors.
Yeah, like more of a solid color, which you don't want. So you can do quite a bit. You'd be surprised. And then take it again and add more. And this is because I'm only using one color. But I would suggest this if you're using multiple colors. Do this again, make it even darker, do the same thing. And then go in with another color later and add that to
like the darkest version of the second color that you want, would you say? Or would you say this medium one that you just did? Like, what level of darkness should you do your second color that you want to do? Or do you do all 3 steps again?
I would do all 3 steps. Well, okay, not the first step, because you don't want to dunk. You don't want to dunk it in the base color. You don't. At this point, you don't ever want to stick it fully in the dye again. But I would finish this, and then I would go back with. I would dump out the water, get more hot water, and then start over with another color and add that in. Or if it's not super dark, if you're doing something more in the tan family and you just want a different tan, then just continue darkening it with a brown on top of the tan. When I did the pink one, I did the 3 versions of the light pink, and then I added fuchsia directly into that and then darkened it with fuchsia. So you don't necessarily have to start over, but you do if you're doing a dark color like this. Like you wouldn't want to just add purple in and hope for the best. But you just keep going around. Just don't get it too much in one spot, but don't be afraid to use it. Because like I said, I'm not leaving it in long enough for it to do darkness.
lot.
Yeah, because I want a super light, very slightly mottled gray. I'm not looking for dark, crazy tie-dye. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not what I want, because this fabric is for Baroque by Ink Circles, and it's sort of a delicate look, and so I wanted it to be delicate. Personally, I don't like to stitch on white. I just feel like it's not that exciting. I've stitched on white a lot, but it's not super exciting. So you can see it's slightly mottled, but I feel like it could use a little bit more.
Did you rinse it just now, or did you just dump the dye out of the bowl?
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I did go back and rinse it. I was thinking about stuff, and I forgot to pay attention to what I was doing. I did go and I rinsed it. Again, it's pretty cool water. And decided it needed a little bit more. So you change the position that it was in and add more. It doesn't hurt to change positions. You can do that at any point. You don't even have to do it
after a rinse.
Yeah, you don't have to rinse it and then do it. You can just do it. But don't squish it all around.
Like what you were about to do. Claw hand.
You don't ever want to squish. Just pour, rinse, but spoon, rinse, spoon. You can move it, spoon, move, rinse. That's fine, but don't smoosh. Smooshing is bad. So I'm rinsing it again. And I'm pretty happy with how that came out. But there's some spots that are almost white. So what I'm doing now is I'm dumping that in to go back to more of a lighter version of what was in there. Gotta rinse that to make sure you're not seeing the wrong thing. It does not hurt to rinse. Anytime you're unsure, rinse, because you need to make sure you have the right color before you stuff the fabric in it. So see, it's lighter than it was before, but not as light as it was in the beginning. And what I want to do is any of those spots, in fact, I think I'm adding more water because it's still dark. And it doesn't matter at this point that it's the wrong temperature. It's fine. It's fine, people. Don't worry about it. This is not rocket science. It's probably some kind of science. And I didn't particularly like science in school.
It's like Safia's bad makeup science. Bad science.
Now I'm trying to cover some of those spots where it's lighter than what I wanted, but I don't want more of the super dark. And then at some point, when you still have those spots that look white, see, that's what I'm doing. I'm moving around looking for the whitish spots. If you have larger white spots, you can pick up the fabric and dunk a quarter of it into, wherever that white spot is, into the dye itself. And you'll see, I will do that in a minute. Just because I don't like a lot of contrast, especially in this. So I'm not looking to have a dark color right next to a super, almost white spot. So this is just sort of fixing it with a more neutral kind of version of the dye. That's why I lightened it so much. You would not want to do that with the super dark. So I'm going to rinse it out again.
I mean, if there's a spot you don't like, fix it.
Exactly.
This is your time to fix it.
Exactly.
It's yours. You have full control of the situation.
Absolutely, positively what I was doing. I think I added a little bit more water. I think. Either that or I'm dumping it out because I'm happy. I don't remember, but we'll see. Nope, I added more water. And see, now I'm going to take it, and the spot that's light, I'm just going to dump it in. Because at some point, it's difficult to control a spoon. So you gotta just get the part that you want. And because some of it's dark, dumping it in something lighter isn't gonna make the dark part suddenly light, you know. It's still dark. It's only taking out the light stuff. But you don't want to stuff the whole thing in, because then you'll lose the super light parts that you had, if that makes sense.
But that's how you did it.
That's how I did it.
That's how she did it.